Hi, it's Dr. Ray here, and thank you for joining me on this video. In this video, I'm going to cover ideas that hopefully can help the Gen Zs. And you might be asking, like, who's this older dude? What is he going to say? Should I believe this stuff? And so forth. And that actually leads to the conversation because more than often, Gen Zs might be influenced by influencers, by what your peers are into, or to what you see happening on social media. An important thing to remember is this: a virtual experience, it's much different than a real experience, right? Like, do you understand that, like, for example, you're watching this and you might be immediately going, oh, what's this? Why is this guy wearing a shirt? To he doesn't know what he's talking about. Just one more man telling me how to live my life, right? Just I'm throwing it out there. Or you might go, hey, I like this person. But is that real? Or is there some part of you interpreting this experience, by how I look, to what you've come to believe about men who look like me or wear shirts like this, to if you dated a man before in high school who kind of looked like me before and he was a jerk, so immediately you're repelled. But again, is that a real experience? Like, is that really happening? Or is it experience onto itself that's being generated by you, by how you perceive this video, by how you perceive this information? And that's what I'm talking about, that it's very important for you to recognize the difference, that I'm having an emotional response to what I'm seeing on social media, and emotional response to what I think I like. But in physical reality, with my friends that I have, hopefully, to if I have a relationship with my parents, to people I work with, that I have real conversations that lead to deeper connections, and we can get to know each other and say, go to lunch, maybe an intimate relationship with that person, maybe go out dancing, maybe play sports with that person. What's more important to you? And it's a question to ask yourself, because many people, particularly if they're like loners, they're afraid to meet people, their experience might be just as real as a physical relationship. Whereas how people feel about them, whether they like their post or not, will determine how they feel about themselves. They get very excited about the conversations that's happening, the engagement. But remember, that's a virtual reality. And if for you, you define it as a real relationship, and therefore you're going to put all your energy and effort to have this relationship, by all means do that. I'm not judging you. However, in physical reality, what do you want? What do you want? Who are the people you really want to connect to? Who are the people you really trust? Who are the people you have some history with? Who are the people who lift you up when you have challenges? In other words, unless you're posting stuff about like a surgery that you're about to have, or you're recovering from something, or you're just not feeling well, and people say, I hope you get well, that's great. However, more than often, people just say that to be polite, right? I mean, it's great to read it, but do they really mean it? Maybe you don't know. But when we have physical friends, when we have physical people who reach out to us, physical people who bring us maybe soup and other supplies and help us out and get us toilet paper and whatever else, then it might be a different experience. And what was different for me when I was growing up, I sound like an old person, is I didn't have this experience. I didn't have social media. So I was raised during a time where I would physically hang out with my friends. I'd physically get in an argument with someone I actually would see at school, or a friend. I would physically develop an intimate relationship with a girl that I liked, and so forth. And, we would kiss, hold hands, and so forth. And for me, that was real. And then when the internet popped out and then these social platforms popped out, that was interesting. And I was so grateful that I was able to see the difference of, wow, here's a virtual world and people really take this seriously. And then here's the physical world in which I've come to know. If you have been immersed in a culture where immediately you were given a phone, an iPad, to where you watch a lot of media, to where maybe you witness parents, looking at their phones a lot and have an emotional response to where it feel like it was real, then unconsciously and consciously, you would just model that. Does that make sense? Meaning that you, through your neural connections to your brain, to your sense of self, by identifying, say, with your parents and what they do, and by, without your, say, conscious recognition, meaning when you're a child, you're just observing. You don't have really that discernment. Maybe something feels good or it doesn't feel good, but that's it. You're not really that logical. So you'll take that on, like meaning watching how they interact with social media and the news and all of that, with as if it's a real thing. No differently than if I love sports and that was my way to bond with my son, and I was watching all the time, there's a good chance that he would have a favorite football team. He would talk about sports a lot. He would maybe draw some identity, some association with me in good times with talking over football. However, don't watch sports. I'm not a spectator. And therefore, when other kids talk about sports, he doesn't relate because it doesn't mean anything to him. If he, sees on posters and say on commercials, Super Bowl Sunday coming up, he doesn't get excited because he wasn't presented the idea that this is important. And I'm not saying that you haven't made real connections, but what I'm trying to present here is that getting clear with the virtual reality and the physical reality, because you can just do a 40-day detox if you really wanted to, unless you're like an influencer and you're making money and you just can't stop your business. But for most people who really don't have a big following, if they just turn off their phone or don't go on social media for about 40 days, nothing really happens. In fact, sometimes better things happen, that you get more done. You become creative. You start painting again or playing music, or you feel more motivated to write a book or reach out to a friend you haven't spoken to a while. In fact, that's something I sometimes advise to people who are spending too much time on social media. And it's more that you have that world, then you have the real world. How much energy and emotions are you putting into the real world, the physical world? Because here's the thing, just in my experience, there's nothing outside of me, meaning like social media, that will be the same as being with like friends, physical friends, or a physical girlfriend. There's nothing exciting on social media that outweighs the true deep conversations with people where, sometimes we maybe even had arguments, but we grow and we expand together. Does that make sense? And even this, I'd rather go on a roller coaster or ride an ATV or, get the, that's me, because I learned that. And I also got into video games, but I never became addicted to games because physically I was experiencing so much more. Does that make sense? So, whereas I could be playing a game or something like that to get some score, when you have some type of experience with physical reality, you start recognizing that, wait a minute, I'm getting this high score, I'll beat this so-and-so, to all of that. it really doesn't have much value unless you're like a professional gamer and you're making money or you're being sponsored. Otherwise, for most gamers, they're not. And so it's still an idea in the head. It's like, wow, this is important. I'm going to get to the next level. And yes, oftentimes it's where you're getting the dopamine spikes, you're getting the serotonin released through your body through these connections, but that feeling you have is within yourself. It is through what you're projecting onto what you see in social media, and it's not necessarily real. But for you, you can create the experience as if it's real friendship, real connection, in that it's really important. So in this video, what I really want to invite you to explore is what's more important for me, virtual reality or physical reality, virtual reality or physical reality. And if it's both, how do I create more balance with it? Even with myself, I've had to do that because I have been teaching online. I make these videos, and sometimes I see myself kind of getting caught up in it, particularly if like people are liking it and it's going viral or something. But then I realize, like, wait a minute, I'm just looking at the numbers go up, and yet it's a nice day outside too. There's so many other things I want to do rather than pay attention to my phone. So even with myself, I have to get off of it and remember that what's more important to me. So there's got to be some balance. Hi, it's Dr. Ray here, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your support, and you are the one who drives this channel. So if you like to be notified when new videos come out, please subscribe to my channel and push the bell button so you are notified when new videos come out. I appreciate you supporting this channel.